Presidential pardons, they're often seen as a tool of mercy, but what most people don't realize is they can actually shake the foundations of democracy. The current situation with Netanyahu in Israel is bringing this into sharp focus.
That's such an interesting point about the balance of power. You know what fascinates me? In Israel, they specifically call the president a compassionate authority. It's literally built into the system.
Well, it's really quite brilliant when you think about it. They've essentially created this moral safety valve within their legal framework, where the president can consider factors that regular courts might not be able to address, like humanitarian concerns or exceptional circumstances.
Hmm. Tell me more about how this actually works in practice. I mean, you can't just walk up to the president's residence and ask for a pardon, right?
Oh no, it's incredibly structured. First, the request goes through the pardons department at the president's residence, then to the Justice Ministry. They gather this massive collection of materials: court files, prison reports, medical records, even detailed socioeconomic data about the person,
You know what really surprised me in all this? The fact that someone doesn't actually have to admit guilt to receive a pardon.
right? And that's such a crucial point. While showing remorse might help your chances, you can technically maintain your innocence throughout the entire process. But here's where Netanyahu's situation gets really interesting. The timing of his request is highly unusual because traditionally, presidents only consider pardons after all legal proceedings are finished.
Well, that brings up the Bus 300 affair, doesn't it? That case really shows why pre-trial pardons are so controversial.
Exactly. And let me tell you why that case was so significant. President Herzog made this extraordinary decision to pardon senior Shin Bet officials before their trial even began. They had to admit guilt, and the head of the Shin Bet was forced to resign. But it was all done under this umbrella of protecting national security.
So, what did the Supreme Court say about that? I mean, it seems like it would set a pretty dangerous precedent.
Well, that's the fascinating part. While they approved the pardon, they made it crystal clear this was an absolute exception. They called it a safety valve that should only be used in the most extreme circumstances. And get this, it led to the Attorney General issuing specific guidelines about how rare pre-conviction pardons should be.
That's really interesting when you compare it to other countries. Like, how does it stack up against the US system?
Oh, the difference is striking. In the US, the president has much broader pardoning powers. They can essentially pardon someone at any stage. But in most countries with ceremonial presidents or monarchs, like the UK, pardons typically only come after conviction. You know what's really interesting, though? Israel has seen some fascinating high profile cases over the years.
Like the Margalit Hashefi case, right? That was pretty groundbreaking.
Exactly. That case marked the first time in Israeli history that a president publicly explained their reasoning for granting a pardon. President Katsav made that decision despite huge public opposition. And then you've got cases like Amos Baranis, who was convicted of murder but maintained his innocence so strongly that he initially refused to even request a pardon.
That really highlights the tension between public opinion and presidential discretion, doesn't it?
It does, and what's particularly interesting is how they've built in these oversight mechanisms. The Minister of Justice has to sign off on pardons, which provides parliamentary oversight, and there's also the possibility of judicial review, though it's extremely limited due to the special nature of the presidency.
So, looking at all this history and these precedents, what do you think this means for Netanyahu's request?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. His request is essentially testing the very boundaries of the system. It's pushing up against all these carefully constructed limitations and precedents we've discussed. And given the political significance and the timing, while legal proceedings are still ongoing, it's really unprecedented.
That's what makes this such a crucial moment for Israel's legal system, isn't it?
Absolutely right. And here's the key thing to watch. How will they balance these competing interests? You've got the principle of equality before the law, the tradition of only granting pardons after conviction, and this unique concept of the president as a compassionate authority. Whatever happens, it's going to set a significant precedent for future cases.
Well, this has certainly given me a new perspective on how these systems of justice and mercy interact.
You know what's really going to be fascinating? Seeing how this decision, whatever it may be, affects similar cases in the future. Because at its core, this isn't just about one high profile case. It's about the fundamental balance between justice, mercy, and the rule of law in a democratic society.